What will you do of a very beautiful, award-winning, good-looking brand if no one buys from you?
So after 8 years of building a bunch of brands, what's the biggest truth or the biggest lesson that you have learned?
I tell them in the first instance that I'm not building this brand for you. I'm not building this for me to get awards, and I'm not building this for you to satisfy your ego if you like this or not. When we are building a brand, we are building it for the end consumers of that brand. That would be my biggest lesson to anyone. Don't think of things on a very personal lens that मेरे को पर्पल्स बहुत पसंद है तो मेरा ब्रांड जो होगा वो पर्पल कलर का होगा. नहीं, मतलब that's not at all how it works.
What do you think most people misunderstand about brand building?
The most common misconception that I see is that building a brand is about running ads. It's about having a great looking logo. It's about ki packaging kya kar rahe ho. Generally, the misconceptions are around how it all looks and feels. But a brand is inherently a lot more than what it looks on the outside, right?
When a new brand comes to you, what's the first thing you look at before anything else in that brand?
Is the product or the service or whatever they're doing, is that even needed? Because brand is a lever that adds fuel to the fire. But there are only so many t-shirt brands that can be out there in the world, right? So is there a real problem that the brand is working on or the business is working on? If the business is working on a real problem and the consumers like whatever they are offering, the service or the product that they're offering, then it would be a right move to basically change this business into a brand. Because then you're working on loyalty of the consumers, because brand is essentially that. If the business is not strong enough, then I wouldn't want to build a brand on that business. I think this is a debate that comes up, like if you have great marketing, if you have a great brand, that you can sell anything. I'm sure you can in the first instance, like through great marketing and through great branding, I can sell you a new sneaker. But if people wear that sneaker and the quality is very bad in the first 2 months of wearing that sneaker, it's never going to become a brand because it's not solving a real problem. It's very simple.
So what actually comes before the logo, before the designing part of it?
I think, like I said on the first instance, brand is a lot about feeling. If there's a specific feeling that you want to inculcate or you want your end consumers to feel, then you have to start from the very basics of it. So first step would be for me to understand who the consumer is. I think that's the most crucial step. Once you have complete clarity, okay, this is the kind of audience that we're targeting, then you have to understand what are their pain points. And how is our brand solving those pain points? And what do we want them to feel after we solve those pain points? Once that is done, then you come up with what we call as a strategy or a positioning doc, because it's important to position the brand right than to do anything else. Maybe I can explain this through an example, like Apple, let's say. The logo, it has changed through the years. Like pehle it was that colorful apple. Usse pehle it was even more like a illustration of an apple. Now it's very clean and all of that. So that's not what Apple is. Apple stands for innovation. Where does that come from? It comes from the positioning of the brand. So whenever you think of Apple, you think of innovation, new age, something new, something top notch, because that's how the brand is positioned. So whatever they're doing, be it the logo, be it the website, be it the new product launches, be it the marketing campaign, be it the actual products, it will all stand for that. So that's the first central entity that we'll begin with. We'll start with positioning. Once that is locked in, then we go to the visual direction. Okay, these are 10 different visual directions that this brand can take, right? And then we start with one. The visual design and the visual direction of Apple also as a brand has evolved through the years. Even the products, like the operating system used to have the skeuomorphism is what it was called initially when Apple came out with the first iPhone, which was a very realistic sort of design. Then it went towards a more modern look towards it. Now it has that liquid glass sort of effect. So the design also has evolved even in the OS and even in the brand inherently. When it was about skeuomorphism, then the website used to look like that, the entire collaterals and the design. So that also evolves. So design can evolve as your business and your brand is evolving. But positioning inherently is something that remains consistent. So the positioning needs to be spot on. And you can't change the positioning like every 5 years. Matlab, you can if you want to, but a strong positioning, like you can see it with the best brands in the world, they always stay consistent. Like Nike is never going away from the motivation, inspiration, that sort of positioning that it has, right?
How do you decide like what makes a brand unique in a crowded market?
See, like I personally feel that unique hona hai nahi hona is also dependent upon, does the business want to stand out in the market, right? For some businesses, they don't want to stand out from the market. They want to sell more. So it depends upon business to business. But if the question is, how do you make a brand unique? Then I personally think it can happen through 2-3 different factors. Ek to wohi, like you said, if the product is unique, then that's the biggest lever. But if it's not unique, then the only thing that you're left with, how do you stand out in the minds of the end consumers? In this specific example, like if you're only talking about a t-shirt brand and you want to make it unique, first thing I would tell you would be ki, why would you make another t-shirt brand unless you inherently have something unique with the t-shirt? These are like very different t-shirts in terms of the design, or maybe it has some inbuilt new technology, like when the dry fit came out, that became a new thing. So what is unique about the t-shirt? I think that would be the most important key. But let's say you are left with nothing, then what you'll have to do is you'll have to just review all the competition, like review your price point. So let's say if you're selling a t-shirt for 1000 or whatever, and review all the other people that are selling it for 1000. Now we have to make the person feel something. Now 1000 wale person ko either we can make them feel like 5000 wala person. That could be a positioning. Okay, we are giving the quality of 5000 in 1000. That could be one thing. If we are staying consistent in that 1000 wala range, then we have to make sure that all the other 1000 wala, they follow an X pattern. We have to follow something very different than them. So for example, if it's a very crowded niche like F&B and everyone is selling, let's take the example of Whole Truth. So everyone has been selling chocolates, everyone has been selling protein powders and all those FMCG products. So their positioning and their entire brand is around that we are providing you with the whole truth. It's very clear, it's very direct. So they have a uniqueness to that angle. Now you can build a brand around it. Now you can leverage that uniqueness and you can build now if you see the entire packaging, the entire tone that they use, even the ads that they create, the founder himself is in most of the ads because they are playing on that angle. It's the whole truth. But you can't expect me to build a very unique brand if you come up with another chocolate brand. Okay, my chocolate is still same. Cadbury is selling for 100. I'm also selling for 100. Now build me a brand around it. So the only lever I have is I will have to create a very disruptive sort of a brand. A very good example for this is Liquid Death. They are inherently just selling water. So there is nothing unique about the water that they're selling. But the positioning is very unique then. It is only targeting musicians and they started with the metal community and the skateboarding and rock. So it's inherently focused on that sort of community. If your product doesn't have uniqueness, then the positioning needs to be very outrageous, for the lack of a better word, if you want to be a little disruptive in that sense.
What mistake did you repeatedly made or like a significant mistake that you made in your early years of building brands?
I think the biggest mistake that everyone makes, we try to tell everyone that this is the right way, that I am the expert, build this brand according to me. According to me, it's a rookie mistake. Early on, we all have done that. But the difference now, if someone talks to me today, would be that I ask them very directly, do you want me to lead the brand? Or are you looking for a team who is looking to execute on a brand? So first, we are optimized better for clients who do not want to think a lot about the brand. They understand their business, they understand their product. They only want an expert team who can handle everything about the brand. If they want to build something and they have very strong notion ki nahi mereko yahi banana hai and this is what I need to do, then my personal suggestion is save money. So you can probably hire a freelancer or a smaller team or someone who can do this for cheaper. Why do you need us? After the first couple of years, what we started doing was when the initial art directions used to go in, you get a sense, is the client responding to me or do they want to follow their own path? So at that time, we used to make them aware, okay, You can follow your path, but again, I think these are personal biases. We are building this brand for this X consumer that we have already mapped out initially, right? If you do not want to follow this path and you do not want to take our direction, then now from this point onwards, the project can lead into two different paths. Either we continue to follow what we follow, our process and our linear process. In that way, you just have to say yes or no to different options that we present to you, or you can give us detailed feedback and the project will lead in a direction that you want it to lead. So if you want to go ahead with that, we can do that, because we will deliver the project. If we take on a project, if we have said yes, we will deliver it, right? And we'll still guide you कि ठीक है, ये वाला बहुत गलत है, ये वाला ठीक लग सकता है, so on and so forth. So we give that choice to the clients and we let the clients choose. And there will be like a good 40-50% of the clients that they want to follow their own path, and that's okay. Building a brand is also a very personal activity. Sure, there are, I can say all the theories in the world, okay, building the brand for your end consumers, that's the right way and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's a very personal decision.
What lessons from the past 8 years that completely changed the way you build brands now?
Over the period of the last 8 years or so, I would say we've added a lot of different capabilities, which has given us the exposure of how a 360-degree approach of how things are done. Now, we could have started proposing this on day one also, by the way. Like, I could have hired people to do these separate things, but we wanted to be good at each step. And the first question that I get, like, people ask is, but what are you really, really good at? So yeah, like, we are really good at building a brand end to end. That's what we're really good at, because that's how we have added steps over the period of time. What will you do of a very beautiful, award-winning, good-looking brand if no one buys from you? So that's a very important lesson for everyone. It all needs to be consistent. It all needs to work in a very copacetic manner. The positioning needs to be right. Then it also needs to look good, but it needs to look good to a certain extent where the end consumers also understand what you're trying to do. And then it needs to be marketed in a way where it's very easy to understand for the end consumers. Think about the complete cycle. Even if you don't execute the complete cycle, you need to think about the complete cycle of how it will play out in the real world.
If someone is starting a brand today, or a founder, a designer, what should they do?
The first thing I would say would be figure out your why. Figuring out your why is a very important and good fall safe. Why do you really want to do it? If you can't figure that out, it's a telltale sign you're not ready to start a brand. If it's for money, if it's for fame, a better way would be become an influencer, become a content creator, have a big following, you'll have the fame and the money, and then build a brand, if that is your priority. So figuring out your why, this is an example of what a path could lead into. But if now you have figured out your why, you know why you're building this, you know the problem that you're solving, then I would suggest do a very in-depth market research. I talk to so many founders and they tell me that they're solving this X problem and no one is doing it. But then I just do a quick Google search and now there is AI, GPT se pucho. Are other people already doing that or not? So you need to be clear, are you actually solving a need or not? And it's very easy in today's world. All you have to do is go to GPT, talk to the AI system and figure out the market. Once you've figured out the market and you see that there is a gap in the market, only then take a decision, okay, I want to start a brand. Then the first step would be figure out your positioning. How do you want to stand unique? If you have figured that out, then you can go to any person. You can hire a freelancer or you can leverage AI tools. Like there is everything that can be done through AI. You can build your own logo, you can build your own website, you can do market validation, you can do customer surveys. So launch a brand and see, do people even respond to what your idea is? And don't expect the first version of your brand to be the absolute best. So if you're waiting for perfection, you're already late. So yeah, that would be it.